What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to experience time energy the way that Kozyrev described it. Kozyrev, if you don't know, is a scientist who was researching how to quantify time energy. And I got really into it thanks to the Museum of Tarot YouTube channel. And he's really great. Brett showed me who this guy was, and I got really deep into it. And so I'm going to pull up some of my notes from my studies of Kozyrev. And one of the key things to keep in mind is that we're all experiencing time energy just by the fact that you're watching this video or you're hearing my voice. He basically says that time energy is something quantifiable, something that we're all experiencing, and something that is essentially the tapestry of life. And your thoughts are like they're like a strand. They're like a fabric in the whole tapestry of life. So, and we have the conscious power to create what we want by the way that we focus our mind. And it's through the mind that we connect to the heart, and from the heart we connect to the soul. Right? When you connect the mind, the heart, and both of them together, you connect to the soul. And something else I wanted to mention is my experience with Tony Robbins. I used to work for Tony Robbins, and I've gone to countless of his live events and trainings and programs online and stuff like that. My whole life, since I was about 17 years old, I've been exposed to his materials. And he also says, Tony Robbins says that time is like an emotion, and these emotions are something that you are tapped into, right? And so the analogy that Tony gave was like, if you're doing something really boring, then it seems like it takes forever. But if you're doing something fun, that means you're doing something that's makes time go fast, right? Or if you've ever been in love and you feel really euphoric with somebody, those moments go by so quickly. And and when you're in that moment, it feels like it's forever in a good way. And so these are all really fascinating topics that I really appreciate. And so as I've studied these things, I've noticed that people who achieve more of what they want are connected to their soul and their intuition. And I point to myself, because it's like, it can't be just the mind and it can't be just the heart. It's got to be something deeper than that. And that's why I appreciate Tony Robbins and all of the things that he's brought to my attention, because his focus has always been on unleashing the power within each and every one of us. And so, but true power doesn't just come from the mind, and true power doesn't just come from the heart. It comes from something that's beyond it. And so, me being very cerebral, I always tried to kind of like, I know that when I've tried to do something just with my mind, it's it's a weak it's a weak offer to the world, so to speak. If I come from my heart, it's a little bit more powerful. But if my mind and my heart are totally connected to the divine force that creates all of us, and I'm very focused on what it is I want to accomplish, then there's nothing that's going to stop me or you or anybody that wants to achieve it. So I've noticed patterns in people that I've studied, people who are extremely accomplished. And these are people that come from a mission based perspective. And these are things that help people do more, right? So if you're on a mission, so for example, one of the guys in real estate who I've learned from was a successful real estate guy. And what he would do was he would put a picture of his mom there, because he knew that that's what his driving force was, right? So it's not just about accomplishing what you want, it's about the why behind it. And then after you know the why, then it's about the mechanics, the how. And so Tony also talks about 80% of getting everything that you want is in, I mean, he says it's the mindset, but I believe it's beyond the mind and the heart. It's the soul, deep down in your soul. You got to want it beyond anything preventing you from achieving it. And so going back to this real estate example with this real estate professional who had a picture of his mom there, um, it was extremely valuable for him to get up every day, to do his best, and to provide not just for himself, but for the people that he served and for his family. And he went on to becoming like a multi millionaire. And so I believe that that's because he wanted it from the soul. I believe that anybody that's accomplished anything meaningful in their life, they've wanted it from a soul level. I think of the F1 series, Senna. It was a great story about this Brazilian race car driver who was a world champion, one of the best the world has ever seen. And I bring this up because um, he was already like in that video, in that series, he talks about how I mean, I noticed that he grew up with wealth. He grew up with money, and he had all the money in the world to really focus on what his soul wanted. And his soul wanted a race. You know, he wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the fastest, and he was constantly training on that. And you know, an F1 driver has a completely different relationship to wealth and prosperity because they're at the world stage, doing things that are entertaining for society and showing people what's really possible. And so my dad grew up watching Senna and F1, and after watching that video, I just remembered, wow, my dad used to watch this when I was a kid, and I remembered that Brazilian guy's name because my dad was a big fan because he built so much momentum, and there was no internet back then, so he was just a world superstar, and just very inspired. So going back to time, energy, and how to experience it, like I said earlier, we're always experiencing time, energy. The difference is how do you want to experience it? Because right now, um, you could be watching this video, having these different thoughts about what I'm saying and what it makes you feel inside your heart. But you could also use this time, energy to pause the video, write down what you want to accomplish in your life or what you would like to do after you watch the video, for example, or what you would like to do with time, energy. And a simple way of doing it is basically where do you want to direct your focus? Where do you want to direct your mind? Because what you do when you're directing your mind is that you're basically tapping in to the frequency of what it is that you'd like to experience. So, if you're single and you're looking for a girlfriend, you could think about having an amazing girlfriend, experiencing what it would be like going on dates, etc. That's one way of directing your focus. Another way is if you're an athlete and you'd like to see yourself performing at a higher level, is seeing yourself perform. I'm a hockey player, for example, and if I want to see myself doing crossovers and starts and stops or really fancy moves, in my mind, I can rehearse that. And that's what all of the greats had in common, whether it was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or anybody else that's accomplished great things in their life. They've always done mental rehearsal. And this mental rehearsal, according to the research, has been proven to help with performance. So let's just say you have going into business now, if you have a business presentation that you would like to deliver to people, you can essentially just, I mean, obviously create the content, the slides regarding to what you're going to be talking about. Then you're going to go into the people experiencing the slides and the things that you're talking about in your content, and essentially visualizing what you want to have happen from your own perspective and from the perspective of the observer, right? Watching yourself deliver the presentation, watching the experience and the facial expressions of the people watching your videos as well. And then you can see both of them happening simultaneously by having that third person perspective. So that's one way of, or multiple ways of experiencing time energy. And it really can help you. It can really help you just accomplish more of what it is that you want to experience because you're giving it energy. And in this world, we're so bombarded with external information. So you'll notice I got a bunch of books around me in my library here. But when you're, next time when you're driving or when you're on the bus or on a train or on a plane or something, would notice how much information your mind is constantly being bombarded with, whether it's your TikTok or your Instagram or whatever social media platform you're on. These are all different messages and programming that you're constantly giving your mind. And the mind is, when you die, your mind dies, right? When you die, your heart dies. But something that's more ephemeral is your soul. Your soul doesn't die, it lives forever. Your soul wants things more than what your mind and your heart want. It's something that you're here to do from a mission perspective. And whatever that mission is deep inside your soul, you know what it is. And some people don't know that they know what their soul wants, but because of the fact that you're alive, I believe you have a unique gift that you're here to give. And your job is to really just to tap into your soul, right? And how do you tap into your soul? Well, one of my teachers, Shenzhen Young, who is an American Japanese meditation instructor, he taught me Vipassana meditation when I was about 18, 19 years old. And he essentially says, what will help you is tapping into silence. Okay. And why is that important? Because if you're tapping into silence, then you're essentially taking layers off of the programming that you've given yourself just by the fact that you're alive. Like I mentioned earlier, being in front of the television, your phone, when you're traveling, all these billboard signs. And so what you do when you go into the silence is you basically just observe the thoughts instead of reacting to them, or instead of, I know sometimes these messages we get are subconscious, but when you go into the subconscious, the way that Shinzen taught me was to observe thoughts. Okay, so observing thoughts essentially just goes into, so he says to close your eyes, and whenever you have noise on the external, or an idea that comes into your mind, or just fleeting thoughts that are coming back and forth, the more you silence your mind, the easier it will be to meditate and to silence all of the noise and to just let go of all of the programming that has got you to where you are now. And so what Shinzen talks about is going into the silence and observing thoughts instead of reacting to them, and then understanding the difference between stimulus, like a message, and your response to it. The difference between a stimulus and a response is the gap. There's a gap between stimulus and response. And if you are able to go into the silence, you're basically going into the gap between stimulus and response. And that'll make you a more intelligent person. And so I've been fortunate to come across Shinzen Young on a radio station when I was a kid on my way back from a hockey training. It was late at night, and he was just on the radio, and he was going to do like a few hour seminar on a Saturday, and I thought, wow, I can go to that. And it was like from 12 to 4, so it was a perfect time of day for me to just get there, enjoy the learning. And he also said something really, really powerful, which was the difference between pain and suffering. And it was actually one of his co-hosts that was there. I believe her name was Sharon, if I remember correctly. And she was somebody that was she had to overcome chronic pain, and something happened to her. And I remember she was older when I met her, but she basically said that between pain and suffering, there's, I mean, those are two distinct feelings, right? Pain is like getting hit with a puck. You get hit with a puck playing hockey, there's a sensation there, right? So it's a physical sensation. Suffering happens when I get mad at the person who shot the puck at me. That is where it turns into a suffering, a different flavor of pain called suffering. And so when you're resisting what happened mentally, that's another flavor of pain. So if I go into my head like, oh, why this happened to me, or XYZ, that's a different layer of suffering versus just observing the pain. Observing the pain and the physical sensation is one level. Reacting to the person who shot it at me is like another level. And then going within into the mind of like, oh, why this happened to me, or whatever. Asking the Lord, what's the message in this? What do you want me to learn from this? Is another great way of transcending physical pain. Because then you'll get downloads, you'll get information based on what you want to based on what's going on in your life, and God will give you downloads, I believe. You will get downloads, whether you call it God, the universe, your higher self, etc., your higher intelligence, infinite intelligence. These are all different things that will help you um, synthesize time energy so that you can live a life that you love and expand what it is that you're experiencing now. And so that's been the point of today's uh, video, how to experience time energy. Hope this has been useful, and be sure to like and subscribe for more.